Herm, first of all, it's great to reunite with you. You got to tell me, what are all those footballs in the background?
Oh, that's the history. That's probably my history. When you start playing football, obviously there's always certain occasions when you won some games or won some championships, and I've been very fortunate to be on a lot of really good football teams with some great coaches and some great players. And so, through your history from college to professional, and now back into college. You acquire some footballs, and you really don't know how many you have until one day you decide, well, let me kind of figure out how many balls I have. And it's interesting because I have my first NFL interception, and you don't realize that when you walk off the field. You take the ball and you're kind of walking with it. That was in 1977, by the way, and the quarterback was Joe Namath.
Oh, I love it.
It all comes full circle, right? He was with the Rams, and that's one of my pride possessions in the fact that when I became the Jet head coach, Joe came over to the press conference, and we started talking. And he says, I know I gave you your first one. I said, yeah, I appreciate it.
That's beautiful. Is the ball from the Meadowlands on the symbol that you scoop up, is that back there?
Yeah, it's back there. There's a bunch of footballs back there for different – obviously for different things that I was involved in with the team. That's what makes it so great. All these footballs, regardless of they might have your name on it, but they have the team that you played for. And, teams win. And when you have success, it always goes back to the team.
When you made the move to get back into coaching, I guess I was surprised because at one point you told me you didn't think you'd ever do this again. Has this been fun?
It's been a lot of fun, and it was a unique situation. The AD, Ray Anderson, was actually my agent. So he was an agent, had a bunch of us, had Tony Dungy, really represented a bunch of clients, Denny Green, and now Denny's left us, obviously. Brian Billick, who's now on our staff as a consultant. Marvin Lewis is on our staff as a consultant. So we were visiting one day, and I was in Arizona working with ESPN for Super Bowl or something. And Ray popped the question. He said, "Did you ever think about coming back to college coaching?" And I kind of looked at him. I said, "Well, I don't know." He said, "Just think about that." So a year went by, and all of a sudden he gives me the call and said, "Hey, look, I'd like you to come here and obviously, build a program, a kind of a pro model, what we're looking for." And I've known Ray a long time, so I jumped back in. I've had a lot of fun. I really have.
Okay, I'm going to hit you with one here. You and I used to talk about this. In the final years that you were at ESPN,
Yes.
You were a go-to for issues, whether it was Donald Sterling saying stupid stuff or whatever the issue was that needed a voice of reason. It was always going to Herm Edwards. And I found myself as a viewer watching to see where you would go. Do you miss that?
I do, because I think you have to have a voice of reason. I mean, we live in a world now where we're quick to jump to sides and to conclusions and opinions. And I think sometimes the way I've looked at things, I've always looked at it in this sense. First of all, through the player, through the coach, and then the man that I am, the things I've learned from my dad, and try to put some kind of thought into it before you get emotionally and say, well, I'm going to jump over here. I try to really balance it out so you have a better idea, because I learned this, it's kind of funny. When I took the job, when you're a little bit older than your players, the first thing they say, they dub you with, "You're old school," right? And I told them, I said, no, I'm the right school. And right's always been right. It never changes, regardless of what age you are, what generation you grew up in. Right is right. And for the most part of my life, I've tried to do things right. I try to consider other people and, make sure that, I take a stand either way, but I'm always going to try to give people information so they can make a good decision.
If you were on ESPN right now, and this may be about to get close to home with Arizona State, My own opinion is that all this conference realignment, that there's nothing good about it. I don't see it. Help me with that. What would you be saying if you were on there right now?
Well, I think that, you know, I look at it this way. This was coming, and I think we were naive if we didn't think it was going to come, especially when the NIL came into play, and you see how that is kind of affecting sports in general, right? And you can look at it two ways. We can bury our head in the sand and say, look, I'm from this era, and you know, I don't believe in this. Well, you may not believe in it, but guess what? It's coming. It's like pro foot. You know, it's like pro football. I mean, you know, you can't hit the quarterback anymore, and so players get mad and fans get mad and say, hey man, that's part of the deal. You better not hit him hard because you're going to get a flag, right? And I just think where we're at right now, we always want to go back to where we started. But things move on. You know, the athletes are better. They're bigger. They're faster. The game has changed in all sports. Basketball, I mean, you know, women's sport, it's all changing. And it's changing at a pace so fast that sometimes for you and for me, we get caught on, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. Well, guess what? We got to adjust. Because if we don't adjust, the train's going to leave us.
Arizona State football coach Herm Edwards is on the line with us. I knew this was going to be good. So as a pro coach, you were in an era that I would call the 20-17 era. A lot of games in pro football had 20-17 scores. Well, now you're in a world where 20-17 may not even have you at halftime. So have you had to change strategies of what you used to do as opposed to what you do now?
No doubt. I mean, you have to score the ball. I mean, the game is set up for you to score. We play on the field now due to the quarterback's ability to run, and offenses spread you out now. Now, with that being said, there's still some factors that come into play here. Smart teams win, physical teams win, and you have to be able to stop the run and still run the football. That's still a factor. Now people will say that's not the truth, but you look at the teams that end up in the playoffs, whether in college playoffs or in the NFL, and it always goes back to that. And I think, you know, when we look at it, you have to be more daring now as a coach. Once you get on the -40, fourth down is in play. I mean, they play 4 downs now. It's not like, oh, well, no. We're going now. That's hard to get used to for a guy like me. You know, you sit there, I'm giving them field position. If we don't make it here, you know, I mean, 4th and 5 is like a regular down now, right? In certain parts of the field, and I'm not talking about you're behind. I'm talking about first quarter, even game. And according to who you're playing, and you get all these statistics and all this data, it's still a feel for it, but I think you have to realize, look, you got to be able to adjust to how football's being played now. And it's funny because college football now has creeped into the NFL, right? You see it.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, and why? A couple reasons. Fans want to see scoring. I've always said that. They want to see scoring. They want you to play defense when you're winning in the 4th quarter with 3 minutes left, and then they're hollering, defense, stop them. But the first 3.5 quarters, they're sitting there talking about score the ball, man.
Okay. From personal experience, I have watched you, for instance, at Jimmy Kelly's, good plug for my next door neighbor's steakhouse.
My man.
You walked in and you had, before the night was over, 10 people listening to all your football stories and clinging on every word. As a college football coach, are you as good a recruiter as you were that night at Jimmy Kelly's?
I'm pretty good. And it's ironic because a lot of the families kind of remember me in my coaching career. Now, some of them go back to where, believe this or not, guys that I played with or coached at one time, especially the guys I coached, they have sons. And like, they send their sons to me. is you're going to play for coach. So it's kind of a humbling feeling in the fact that I think they trust me to do this. And this is the thing I really enjoy the most, is that we're going to grow them up and they're going to graduate. We had 11 guys this season off this team that just left us. 5 of them were drafted, 6 of them signed as free agents. All of them were college graduates. We're going to graduate our kids. And I promise the parents this, look, he'll leave here a better man. We won't allow him to waste his talent, and he's going to graduate. Now, as far as pro football, they'll be coached. If they have the ability, they'll get an opportunity. But the other things, whether they be a pro football player, that's on them. But those other 3 things I mentioned, they're going to get that done.
Watson Brown and I had this conversation recently that if we could pick certain people, voices of reason, to get in a room and make NIL better, and I don't know if perfect is the word, but better than it is now. You were one of those people I was thinking about. He brought up his brother, Mac Brown.
Mm-hmm.
He brought up Frank Beamer. I brought you up. So if you were in that room for a weekend and you all could really make things right, what would you bring to the table? What suggestions would you have?
I would say this, and this is the difficult part about it. We're trying to make it a level playing field, but that's going to be difficult because when money gets involved, how much can you bear, right? And how much can you generate as a conference, as a university, and everyone's in a different place. And I think that, the window, I think of the portal, let's just say, because portal becomes free agency all of a sudden in college football.
Sure.
And I think it has to be a shorter window, because now what happens is if you wait until almost the end of spring football, you may lose 5 or 6 guys. You can't get them back. You can't replace those guys. And now when you recruit a kid, you got to recruit him every year. That's the hard thing, because, you think you recruit a kid, well, he's going to stay for 2 or 3 years. No, you got to recruit him for next year too, because let's just say you get a kid that is a undersized player and he comes in, he was a two-star guy, but all of a sudden he plays and becomes a very good player. A lot of these high profile schools are looking at those guys like free agency and going to try to entice them to maybe leave it. And maybe the kid wants to leave it and go to a bigger program. I mean, so all those things, the unintended consequences of this, I don't think that everyone understood them. And I think as this plays out this season, they need to regroup and figure out, what do we do to try to level the playing field? Now, it's never going to be level, but it's going to be very difficult going forward unless they have some kind of guidelines of what you have to do.
Herm, you all were good enough a year ago to take down USC, take down UCLA, take down Stanford. How close were you all to being not just pretty good, but almost great?
4 halves. We played bad. We played 4 games, and when we lost half of the game due to turnovers and fouls. And that was our season for the most part. I mean, we played a really good team in Utah. We were up 21-7 up there. And then the second half, they came back and we had no answer. We turned the ball over. And they were the better team the second half. But, we lost games, half a game. And I always tell the players, I said, look, we didn't play a bad 4 games. We played a bad 4 halves in those games. And I said, if you figure this thing out, I said, if we just stop it, at the halftime, we're probably going to win this game. But that was not the case. And that's what's great about football, that those are the points that going into this season, and the players know, look, you don't beat yourself by turning the ball over and committing fouls, right? That's bad football. And we played 4 bad halves that cost us maybe winning at least 10 games for sure.
You are one of the most fun people I have ever worked with in the radio business. So know this: if you ever get out again, I'm ready to hire you.
Okay.
Fair deal?
It's a deal. And look, you're one of my favorites. We didn't know each other when we met, and obviously we kind of have a kinship now. And anytime you call, I say, I got to go on my man's show. Who would ever thunk, right? I mean, but that's what's great about what we get to do. Whether you're coaching, whether you work for the worldwide leader, whether you're on radio, television, in the fact that you meet so many great people, and there's certain people you just come attached to. And we didn't know each other. And all of a sudden we got in a conversation. Next thing I know, I'm going to Jimmy Kelly's and I'm meeting all your guys, and we started a relationship, and it's a kinship now. I mean, you're one of my friends, and anytime you call, I'm always available, and we'll continue to talk down the road for sure.
You know what I remember? I know I'm supposed to end this, but you know what I remember was one day on the air, you came on. I don't know what day it was you were on, and you just threw this at me. You said, I will be in town tomorrow night, and you're taking me to dinner. And everybody watching this is thinking, he's going to take him to McDonald's.
No, a real dinner. Not McDonald's. Not nothing against McDonald's. I'm a McDonald's guy, but I'm talking about one of those where the fancy napkins and all that stuff. That's the real one.
You are the best. Thank you for doing this.